Welcome to Dentiverse, Beyond the Brush, where we drill deep into the future of dentistry. I'm your host, Leila Ibrahimdi, here to guide you through the cavities of innovation, from AI root canals to blockchain braces. It's time to floss your mind and brighten up your knowledge. Bite down, hold tight, and let's explore the dental universe. Welcome to Dentiverse Beyond the Brush, Dr. Mart. Happy to see you here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. And we're genuinely honored to have you as the first guest speaker of the podcast series. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And just for the audience, for those who don't know you, who is Dr. Mart McClellan? So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm practicing orthodontist in the United States, in the Chicagoland area. And I've been practicing for in the neighborhood about 30 years. But I also took a pivot in my career, and I'm also a financial advisor for dentists and other specialists. And I've been doing that line of work for roughly about 20 years now. And so I'm juggling multiple balls, but it's a lot of fun because dentists don't typically have financial advisors that they can have maybe a strong amount of trust in. I think the trust factor is essential when people are talking about money. And so our niche is helping our fellow colleagues manage the world of personal finance. And that's how we found you, because we love the whole concept of cryptocurrency, the blockchain, the metaverse, and all these wonderful things. And that was our connection. And we've been doing our best to try to share the message of the Dentiverse as well as cryptocurrency and the blockchain in general to our clientele, because I do believe that's the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And as you mentioned, you're also super interested in Web3 and in Metaverse. And actually in December 2022, so not so long ago, you published an article named Dentistry Blasting into Cyberspace, the Metaverse on dental economics. So first of all, congratulations for that. And secondly, can you give us please more information about it?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate to be a contributor to Dental Economics, which is the leading publication in the United States on financial matters. And we've written a number of articles on some of these topics, cryptocurrencies and other topics like personal finance as well. And the article in particular we wrote about was about the metaverse and the impact that it's going to have in dentistry in the future. And the metaverse itself is, it comes down to decentralization, the blockchain, as well as tokenization of the metaverse itself. And some folks may not understand that, but it's just the economics behind it all as well. And I know we'll get a little deeper dive into what it does, but those are sort of the three pillars of what the metaverse is going to be bringing to dentistry and really the future of our world, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. And basically, as you said, continuing on the topic, for a dentist who is not tech savvy, which I think in most cases dentists are not, what's the basic knowledge kit they need to have regarding Metaverse and Web3 technologies? And I think most importantly, how they can gain access to it.
Yeah, so that will be kind of an issue in the future. The adoption in the dental space is going to be challenging. There's so many things going on in the life of a dentist, and maybe something like a virtual universe like what the metaverse is going to be something that's going to be somewhat difficult for them to embrace and figure out what is. But I do believe that articles in these types of publications, podcasts such as this, doing some work online to sort of figure out what it actually is and see some of the benefits of it is going to be the best way of figuring out how this technology is going to have an impact in what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, thank you. And to be honest, for me, when I read your article in such few pages, you actually could effectively summarize what Metaverse is and just bring up, as you said, all those important topics like decentralization, blockchain, tokenization, and everything into like small biteable size paragraphs, which was very nice to read. But I found one line super interesting. You mentioned in the article that the metaverse will be a technological disruptor, likely bigger than using scanners for clear aligners. I think for a dentist to hear that statement, it's quite mind-blowing. And what do you think is the impact of it on dentists, and what's the message that you wanted to convey with that line?
Yeah, I do believe that to be the case. Dentists, we like to buy a lot of things for a lot of technology for our practice, and I bought a lot of dumb things. And one of the best things I ever invested in my own personal practice was a scanner. It was a game changer for my team, and they say that's the best thing you've almost ever done. And so that was a big transformational thing that occurred in my private practice. But that's only sort of one segment of what goes in a private practice, whether it's scanning for crowns, scanning for Invisalign or any type of clear aligner treatment or whatever it may be. Whereas the metaverse sort of encompasses multiple different aspects of a dental practice, whether it's clinically, whether it's training, whether it's payment systems. So the scanner is kind of a micro powerful strategy or technology, whereas the metaverse is more of a macro powerful strategy where it touches on many different aspects of the practice.
Yeah, and you also mentioned it previously that also in our experience, we hear it a lot, that the general misconception around metaverse is that mythical virtual universe that will totally replace the reality. First of all, do you agree with this view? And what are other common myths that you usually hear from the dentist and you would like to get debunked in this podcast and generally around us?
Yeah, you definitely hear the concepts of we'll never use this or be part of it. I don't believe it'll ever overtake the entire piece of the dental puzzle. But like anything in life, I think having a combination of both where they can dovetail and work together is where the value comes from. And there are so many wonderful benefits of the metaverse to help enhance the practice. At the same token, the doctor-patient relationship is of utmost importance, and being in front of a patient, getting them through they may be a little challenged or scared going to the dentist. It's very valuable to have the one-on-one contact as human beings, but that does not mean that you can't use technology to your advantage to also enhance that type of relationship.
Yeah, totally agree. And another thing I found curious in your article is that you have mentioned the use case of metaverse in pedagogical sector. Obviously, as you may know, also in Dentaverse, we attack 3 sectors: one for dental professionals, one for dental brands, and one for dental universities. And for us personally, the dental university project is somewhat of a long stretch, because you also mentioned the use of haptic gloves and haptic technology. And we know that this technology right now is not, let's say, at its best form. And the adoption of this technology, and most importantly, global accessibility of it, is still a few years down the line. Imagine buying all these sets for all the students you have in dental universities in one city and then expanding it on a global scale. So the other thing that we hear is okay, this project is cool, metaverse is all good and all that, but I think it's not happening right now, so I should not worry about it. So what's your point in this sector?
Yeah, one of the very appealing things to me with this technology is the ability to train people worldwide. I've done a number of mission projects, and this reason why I actually became a dentist was doing mission projects in Kenya, in Guatemala, and in the Amazon rainforest of Peru, and recognizing the tremendous need of folks needing dental health care is something that relatively small percentage of the whole world actually takes advantage of. And so I do believe from a teaching standpoint that the metaverse may be a mechanism to train people globally in a more efficient manner, in a more financially beneficial manner. And it will take some time. I do believe that the dental schools, universities may not necessarily embrace it on the front end, but I do think that they should, because it does have the ability to sort of enhance what we call access to care. Everybody else talks about having access to care in our communities and across the countries, but access to care is a global thing. And so the ability to train people through this type of technology is tremendous, and I think that's one of the really great benefits of what the folks at Dentiverse are creating.
Thank you. But can you share some examples or case studies where Metaverse technology has already been successfully integrated into dental practice? And what were the outcomes that you observed, or why do you think it's a better method than the conventional settings that we have right now?
Well, unfortunately, I wish I could offer a lot of case studies and a lot of where a lot of places where these things are being integrated. But for me personally, at least here in the States, it almost seems like the folks overseas are engaged in this a little bit more. Certainly, at the meetings I go to, I don't see group situations like the Dentiverse they have set up. Everybody sort of playing with it and using it. And so I don't see that as of yet here, but from a in the dental practice, incredible things can happen even from a training standpoint. We're having a very difficult time finding assistants and employees to work with us and come on board. And so when we don't have as many employees working with us, it's more challenging to train them when a new person comes on board. So it'd be in a wonderful situation where if there was the ability to train a dental assistant or train a hygienist or train a front desk person or an admin person on ways to do it by not using resources of maybe a human being in the practice and using something like the Dentiverse or maybe other modalities, that would be a wonderful way to integrate that into the private practice.
And in your opinion, what are some of the key challenges and obstacles that the dental industry may face in embracing and implementing these Metaverse technologies? Why do you think so far, like for instance, there are some projects and the concept of Metaverse and Web3 has been around for quite a few years, but still the adoption is not as fast as the development of it. So what do you think causes that?
Well, that comes down to sort of the mindset of the profession. And some folks are very open-minded and willing to jump on board very quickly. Others are a little bit more set in their ways and not looking to upset the apple cart, shall we say. And it's just a matter of education and having forums like this or getting in front of big conferences, dental conferences, and sharing the benefits with these folks, because it does take time, like anything in life. It just takes a little bit of time before, back in the day, people said Invisalign wouldn't work. I was 25 years ago. I was on the beta testing for that. And here we are. It's the biggest company in the world, orthodontic world, for braces. And so that's 20 years or so, but it did happen, and then things will continue to change. But technology you almost can't keep up with. I mean, Chat GPT and all these technologies, the internet back in the 90s, they say it may be a big thing. Well, it took maybe 4 or 5 years for people to embrace the internet. Heck, with Chat GPT and these other technologies, they're changing on a monthly basis. It's accelerating so fast, and sometimes that overwhelms people. They just get complacent, like, I'm doing just fine. There's no really reason for me to engage these different modalities. And so I'll just keep doing what I do. Unfortunately, life will pass you by and you never know what's going to happen looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, that's true. With the technologies, especially the digital ones, not analog ones, with analog, as you said, was Invisalign. It has to pass through the experimentation stage, the testing, the actual development of the product. And then again, there are like multiple stages, versus with digital technologies, it happens like in the snap of a finger. And right now, I genuinely believe that the stage that we are right now, it's kind of deception/disruption. So it's hard to believe, but there's also a fear of missing out because it just introduces such big disruption in the world that we are. So as you said, to not let it pass by you with the rise of this Web3 technologies, what new skill sets or expertise do you think dental professionals will need to develop in order to stay relevant in the future?
Well, I guess the good news, people complain a lot about, the phones and, everybody being on their phone all the time. And and of course the technologies on your desktop. I think one of the biggest things moving forward and sort of embracing this thing is that, of course, when you're in the metaverse, there's going to be some different technologies, whether they're goggles or glasses, or even using your desktop, which is a very valuable way to sort of get into that space. These are some things that people may not be terribly comfortable with, but in all honesty, when I did it, through the Dentiverse, it was remarkably simple. It was really not that hard at all. It was just a matter of just sort of you need some hand holding, and once you get the hand holding, once you're in, it's fun. It's kind of a fun place to experience. So it's just, as I mentioned prior, it's going to take some time, but all good things take time.
That's true. And as you know, Dentiverse has been in expos for the past 3 months, starting with ADC Dubai in February. Then we were in Ideas Cologne in March, and we went to Romania to iDent Evolution also in April. And we see how dentists look as if this is the strangest object coming into the dental expo, and that's not the place that VR goggles should be displaying. You should be in Comic-Con and in some other place, but not on Dental Expo. Just to elaborate on your point, if someone is asking, okay, Dr. Mart, what was your step-by-step introduction with these technologies, with the goggles and everything, how did you find about it? How do I go around it? I have zero clue. Or I have, let's say, is my credit card, access to some Amazon, and willingness to learn. So what it takes to do, and what would be the step-by-step tutorial you would give them?
Well, unfortunately, there aren't that many access points for things like this. I mean, as far as I know, this is the only portal to use in the dental space. Now, there may be others, but a lot of I'm a much older person. My son is, very much into the gaming world and all these things. And so, those folks who experience the gaming world and that whole, virtual world, they're more comfortable for understanding how to, get involved with it. And, but it's you just have to sort of find it, but it comes down to exposure. And, you guys and myself and the other ambassadors, there are a number of ambassadors with the Dentiverse, we're doing our part in just trying to share the message so that people do feel comfortable, at least learning about it. They don't necessarily, it's like anything I always say in life, be curious without regrets. So, at least, dabble in it, see if it's of interest. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then move on. But you don't want the FOMO, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I wish I would have done that. There's, no regrets. And so, it's going to take some work to get it assimilated into our profession. But it is going to be part of the equation because, I look at that as sort of a 3-pronged. It's great for collaborating with our fellow professionals around the world, by the way, just not in our local communities. It's a great way to train. You can, as I mentioned before, training your team members on things, but it's also a great way to educate. And there's some great educational things, whether it's the Dentiverse University or whatever it may be, education on research papers and all these other things. I mean, experiencing the within the Dentiverse, the little communities area there where they were giving lectures. It was spectacular. It was just really a cool experience to be part of that.
Yeah. No, just from my experience, I think just to add on your point, I totally agree with the point that I think sometimes you just need to start somewhere, and then as you hook or dig deeper, some other doors will open, and then you find your way around it. For me, I think the way when I would speak to someone would be, the least simple thing would be, okay, you may just go to one of the spatial universes, just some open, really open source access things, go to OpenSea.io, see what NFT looks like, go to spatial, just enter some sort of universes with your laptop, just have some kind of an understanding with it. Because I think most people are afraid because they think they need to have a huge theoretical background into how the system works and what decentralization is and what every cryptocurrency stands for. and like what metaverse is, why it is the way it is, versus I think there's not that much information about the application of it and showing the use cases, which we also try to do here. But I think the easiest way like that we saw people to go through is like just to try and see something first and just involve some more feelings, not only reading, but also just maybe go on and see and everything else, like trying to find that step that will lower the barrier the most. So basically the energy that it takes to enter the game is the least as possible. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I am not a terribly tech person, honestly. I just love learning about it. But I'm very much a turnkey type of person. If somebody shows me something and how to do it, and then I'll do it, and I'll just follow along and learn along the way, and just get right in there. And the spatial technology, the spatial app, and that's fantastic, and it's quite easy. I love that idea of just trying that out, and just dipping your toes in it, just to say, hey, it really is not that hard, and just just do it.
I think, yeah, totally agree. And I think it's when you see like the basic concept, you should then let your imagination run and like see 5-10 years in the future and down the line. And that's where my next question comes in. How do you see the concept of patient care? Because you said that the most important relationship is like the relationship between a doctor and the patient. So how do you see this concept and like engagement evolving with the introduction of metaverse technologies, and like what opportunities does it present for improving the patient experience and probably the quality of the care provided?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of great opportunities in the world we're all living in. Relationships are the most important thing, and it's something that AI and all that technology really won't have, at least not for the long term. But at the same token, our time is very important and very valuable, and a lot of times folks don't always want to have to come to the dental office to maybe make a payment, or ask a question, or maybe even have a relatively minor emergency in the office. And so you could say, hey, let's go and let's just jump in the metaverse, and they may have a poking wire with their braces. As you said, I'm an orthodontist, or so they may show them how to, in the metaverse, show them how to put wax on, right, sort of face to face with an avatar, or how to manage a long wire, or show them how to brush their teeth, or how to put the rubber bands on, or assortment of all these other things, or put your denture in. These things that can be managed remotely, that don't need to come to the office. That gives them a much better patient experience based on the lifestyles that we're all leading, and or even giving training modules on to the patient clientele, where the hygienist doesn't necessarily need to spend as much time in the office. They can do things through the metaverse to help that whole experience. And so I do believe that it can definitely enhance the patient experience, as opposed to tell you, hey, this is not going to be part of my practice.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for me, each technology, when there is especially a new technology, it comes with good sides and also bad sides. If we look at social media that you brought up before, social media is an amazing tool to connect with ever more people. But then again, it raises some concerns or some ethical considerations, such as a social comparison, or maybe someone feeling not good enough, or race for attention, or things like that. As metaverse continues to evolve and new possibilities emerge, do you think there are some ethical considerations for dental professionals to be aware of and keep in mind when they use it?
Yeah, I certainly believe the ethics of it. That'll definitely be a pretty significant concern in the future, whether it's through the concerns through the dental organizations, American Dental Association, European Dental Association, where it may be, and primarily from like a privacy and a security standpoint. These things are of utmost importance. Our health information, health records are very, very valuable to us. We don't necessarily want to share them. We don't want somebody to hack into the system and have access to these issues, and our data has to be protected. And so those things will certainly be of concern in the future. And other things like informed consent, you don't want to necessarily feel that you want to make sure that the patient is informed on any potential recommendations you'll be making, and that you're not, crossing the line of informed consent, because there can be some certainly issues there. And to your point too about social media and things, and psychologically, people, they want to feel comfortable with their dentist, and so we want to make sure that we don't lose that doctor-patient relationship either. And that's why I don't, as I said at the open, I don't believe it will overtake dentistry by any means, but I do think it can be a dovetail and a wonderful combination of both.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the concept that metaverse is built on Web3, which on its nature is decentralized, and it basically permits a trustless system. It, in a sense, reduces the risk of these privacy and security concerns, but obviously all the legislation and rules and regulations around it are still yet to be developed. But I think, like, as you mentioned, the first use cases that of the training modules of hygienists, like talking to people, etc., those are some low impact things that can already be implemented without the risk of violating someone's personal data or etc. And as we wrap up this conversation, what would be the final message or piece of advice would you like to share with our listeners, especially dental professionals, who are curious about metaverse and its potential impact on dentistry?
And my last piece, it's a short tidbit. Just do it. Just learn about it. I know people are fully engaged in technology already on their phones and other things, computers. So don't think it's not coming. I'm a true believer, like with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, to some people say, oh, that's never going to be part of the equation, or the blockchain. I mean, quite frankly, the blockchain is the future of our world, maybe even more so than the internet. And so if you're not at least learning about the blockchain and learning about these technologies, you will be surpassed by people who are. And we're living in an efficiency mindset now. Everybody needs to be more efficient, and this is just a way of making your practice more efficient moving forward. And when you're more efficient, you become more profitable, and it helps your bottom line. So, and when your bottom line is helped, one of my big things, at least in my financial business, is being charitable and giving back. And of course, that's a great opportunity to, help the world by being more charitable. And it starts with embracing technology and not shying away from it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maida. Thanks for sharing your knowledge around it. And as I told you previously, there is one question that I still want to ask you. And that question is, what are the 3 things you're most proud of in your dental journey?
The 3 things in my dental journey?
Yes.
That's a great question. I think my most thing that I love taking home on a daily basis is the lives that I change on every day. I mean, in my professional orthodontics, it's so fun watching the children grow up and see their teeth change and give them the self-confidence that many of them don't have. And then when you become an older practitioner like me, seeing them get older, have kids, then bring their kids to me, that is first and foremost in terms of one of the top 3 for sure. And secondly, I always like to sort of give back to my community, where we tend to do a lot of things within the area that I live, whether it's schools or churches or other causes. The Paying It Forward model is one that hopefully everybody's embracing, and so I love that. And the last thing is, looking back, when I started my practice, we didn't even have these technologies like scanners and Invisalign or clear aligner treatment, braces that were called self-ligating braces. These technologies weren't even in my training. And I think I was taught years ago by one of my mentors growing up that, always keep an open mind to the new things. And I did that in my private practice, in my career. And so embracing things like I just mentioned, as well as things coming up in the future, like the metaverse and other technologies, it makes it fun. And I like to have fun. And, staying stagnant. If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. So I always like to look at the next great thing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mart. Thanks for your time and thanks for this wonderful conversation.
Hope everybody enjoyed it, and we may see you in the Dentiverse. Who knows? Have a great day.
For sure. Thank you. That's it for this episode of Dentiverse Beyond the Brush. Remember, the future of dentistry is brighter when we explore together, so continue to floss your mind and expand your knowledge. To stay updated, follow our podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your colleagues. This was your host, Leyla Ibrahimli, reminding you to bite down on curiosity and keep smiling until next time.